Hola! Como se dice llama está tu madre y padre muy contento la biblioteca? Pollo. For the uncultured, English-only speaking swine among us, I asked my fellow Spaniards and Mexicans, hello! How are you? How is your father and mother? Good, I hope. Did you go to the library today? I'm platinum, baby. I'm everywhere. Mr. Worldwide. Last time I took Spanish was in middle school. After that, it was straight Latin all the way through college, but I've perfect memory. Some might even say the best. Anyway, I, honest to God, haven't the foggiest what to do today. I've kind of got nothing to talk about, at least not as it pertains to the games. I've got other things to talk about. Bro, I'm telling you, just give me 3 minutes, I can connect the pyramids, to the Erfurt latrine disaster, to Elvis taking a shit while dying, to NASCAR. I'm telling you know, nothing really to say for Genshin before a patch. Already said my piece on Star Rail, and right now doesn't really seem like the best time to get back into Zenless. And now what? I don't know yet, but you do, because you've seen the title, the thumbnail, so let's just skip to the part where I realize what I'm doing. Welcome, my friends, to the 5 biggest unsolved mysteries in lore thus far, part 9. And at this point, one really has to ask if this game really has this many unsolved mysteries, or if I'm simply scraping the bottom of the barrel for questions, because I mean, come on now, 25! Now again, once, since we started the series, some questions have been answered, I think like 2 or 3, but, naturally as more happens, more questions erect themselves. So without further ado, let's begin with question 25. Did the captain reconnect Natlan's ley lines with Teyvat's? Now, before I delve into this question, just quickly say yes or no. Following Natlan's Archon quest, are the ley lines reconnected with Teyvat's? Okay, well, I can't really, hear your answer, so that was kind of a pointless question. But with that said, I'd imagine, some would say yes, due to the Natlanese being able to leave Natlan following the quests, and however, there are some problems with this. First, this assumes the ley lines being disconnected were the reason the people of Natlan couldn't venture outside of Natlan. The reason this is problematic is because the ley lines became decimated during the Great War of Vengeance over 6,000 years ago. This is before even Khaenri'ah was founded. This would mean the people of Natlan would never have been able to leave for the last 6,000 years, which just isn't true. Vanessa's tribe left Natlan over 1,000 years ago, and they didn't suffer from the ailments one would expect, because the real reason one was not supposed to leave Natlan is due to the abyssal corruption the Night Kingdom faced during the Cataclysm 500 years ago, and it was following the complete restoration of the Night's Kingdom, people were once again allowed to leave Natlan worry-free. Now, with that little nook out of the way, we can focus on the question again. My understanding of what the captain did during the Archon quest was twofold. First, he restored the Night Kingdom and is sustaining them through his curse of immortality, and second, rewrote the rules of the Night Kingdom, making them more broad to accept both the souls he carries and souls of future Outlanders who die in Natlan. Now, unless I'm mistaken, neither of these accomplishments seem to have anything to do with reconnecting the ley lines to Teyvat's. However, the reason the ley lines weren't able to be reconnected in the first place is because the Lord says this.
But at one point in time, Natlan's ley lines were decimated. Even after reconstruction, the rules needed for the Ode of Resurrection made it impossible to reconnect the ley lines to other nations.
Now, given the captain, as mentioned earlier, changed the rules of the ley lines, this does open up the possibility that a reconnection was able to happen, and what's more, the Ode of Resurrection is no longer a thing, at least for now. However, I'd always assumed a sacrifice to sustain the Lord of the Night was an effort to preserve the rules in case the Abyss were able to ever return, as Mawika tells us this.
We have no need for the Ode of Resurrection right now, but it remains Natlan's strongest defense should the Abyss return one day.
And thus lies the problem, mi amigos. If the Ode of Resurrection is currently in a state of flux, is this also reflected in the connection of the ley lines to Teyvat's, or have they finally been able to reconnect? And if they are reconnected, and the Abyss does return one day, would they have to be disconnected for the Ode of Resurrection to work again? And it's for this reason the answer to the question of did the captain reconnect Natlan's ley lines with Teyvat's remains blows. Close.
Fuck if he like it, but he gon' respect his scriptures. Yeah.
The 24th greatest mystery on planet Earth. Who's the 10th Fatui Harbinger? This is an odd one to me. As to me, this mystery died following Scaramouche's interlude quest, which saw him erase Scaramouche from the history books, and along with it, Scaramouche's rankings from the Harbingers, which left us the answer to the question of whether or not a Harbinger's position can be vacant, and the answer is yes. Following the interlude, we learned the 6th ranked position Harbinger, 6th ranked position, yeah, that was pretty good English out of me, has been vacant for hundreds of years, and what's more, this had no bearing on the other Harbingers' positions, as they remained where they were both before and after Scaramouche's existence. So to me, the rankings of the Harbingers may be more symbolic than anything. Symbolic of what? I couldn't tell you, but it seems like they were meant to be in the positions they're in. But, another thing backing this, this whole thing up is the fact that the Tsaritsa chose to keep the captain as the #1 ranking Fatui Harbinger despite his incapacitated state. So to me, there is no mystery here. I simply don't think there's a 10th ranking Fatui Harbinger. Like, realistically, what's the evidence for Crepus, Diluc's father, being the Harbinger? He has a delusion? I mean, dude, come on. Harbingers aren't the only ones who get delusions. Shit, Nina and the Fatui were handing them out like they were candy, bro. And for those going, well, the design's a bit different. It's like, yeah, this manga came out before the fucking game did, bro. But with that said, my theory isn't falsifiable, so the answer to the question of who is the 10th ranking Fatui Harbinger remains blues. Clues.
Fuck if he like it, but he gon' respect his scriptures. Yeah.
The 3rd greatest unsolved mystery in Pakistan. Why is it always day on the Tonatiuh? To elaborate, when you're on the Tonatiuh, no matter what time you set the clock to, the sun will always be up. The Tonatiuh is a ship above Ochkanatlan. 'Twas commissioned by King Ochkan himself, and is said to be above the Sea of Clouds. Quotes, countless adventurers have spent their lifetimes in pursuit of the Tonatiuh, drifting about somewhere above the vast Sea of Clouds, and from observation, this doesn't seem to be an exaggeration. When you look up at the sky, there are no clouds above. This could very well be the highest point in Teyvat, even higher than what we presume to be Celestia. And the reason this could be the case is because during the opening cutscene, we see clouds floating above us, but not on the Tonatiuh. I mean, yeah, we see some clouds level with us, but not above us. And what's more, we see a dark blue sky and stars, and yet on the Tonatiuh, we see none of this. It's simply a baby blue sky that stretches endlessly. The why? I, honest to God, have no idea. Nothing I can say about the false sky can rationalize this mystery, which is why this brief but intriguing unsolved mystery remains blues. Clues.
Fuck if he like it, but he gon' respect his scriptures. Yeah.
The 22nd greatest mystery. Who's the final missing witch of the Hexenzirkel? We currently know 7 of the 8 witches, and they are Alice, Barbeloth, Ivanova, Anders' daughter, Nicole, Rhine daughter, and finally, the most recently revealed, the wandering witch Octavia, one who's so rarely on Teyvat, they never keep her seat out at the tea party. Yet, despite this, we see 7 chairs here, meaning there's one final member, one powerful witch, or regular nigga, who belongs to the coven. Now this is where, things do become a bit difficult, because again, this missing person could be either an extremely powerful witch like Alice or Rhine daughter, or could be a regular human with no powers who's long since died like Ivanova and Anders' daughter. Now I will say, the witch's identity still not being revealed makes me lean towards the idea they are still alive and are powerful, just because what's the point of introducing another dead regular witch unless their death was important. So important, it's the reason Teyvat still exists. I'm speaking of the 3rd Descender. So, is the 8th witch of the Hexenzirkel actually the 3rd Descender? No, this would be impossible, because the Hexenzirkel challenged the Animo Archon, and the 3rd Descender existed long before the Archons did, so who is the final witch? Not a fucking clue. And thus, it remains blues. Clues.
Fuck if he like it, but he gon' respect his scriptures. Yeah.
And finally, the 20th greatest mystery in Kentucky. Where is the Pyro? Sovereign. And no, I don't mean the dead Shiakawaddle. I'm speaking of the human Pyro Sovereign who had or will I think I'm having a stroke. Who has or will be born. Who either exists now or will exist in the future. There we are. What do I mean? First, we have long since known that sovereigns, the 7 sovereigns, are constantly being reborn, and a new generation is being reborn right now. However, the Pyro Sovereign, much like the Hydro Sovereign, is being reborn as a human due to the Vishaps becoming impure. Old Ochkan tells us, quotes, "The devolution of the Pyro Vishaps proves that dragonkind has been abandoned by the evolutionary path. Their heirs have lost the primal flame's purity, and the Sovereign of Fire shall never again be born from amongst them." Keep in mind, the same thing happened to the Hydro Vishaps, as Orabashi writes, quote, "Dragon heirs of the depths have evolved to wield the power of other elements, and have since lost their purity. As such, the Dragon of Water will no longer be born from amongst their ranks." This could all very well mean there's a human Pyro Sovereign walking amongst us. Now, it's not worth speculating on who that is, because the last time that happened, a lot of people said Kokomi was the Hydro Sovereign, and we all saw how that ended. So, learning from the past, as all great people do, all we have to do is keep an eye out for an individual in the future who has vertical pupils, but we've yet to see anyone like this aside from Nervalette, the Hydro Sovereign, which is why the question of where is the Pyro Sovereign remains clue.
Fuck if he like it, but he gon' respect the scriptures. Yeah,